Sooner Nation, Thunder Nation, we are back. This is the Just Okay Sports podcast. I am one of the village idiots around this place. I'm Daryl. That's my brother Jared. That is Corporate Troy, and we are ready to kick this thing off. How are we doing, boys?
Good.
I defer to you every time, Jared.
What's funny is Troy and I are just staring at each other the entire time.
Every time.
I think we just do it to troll you, honestly.
I know you do.
This podcast is more about trolling you than it is Oklahoma sports, honestly.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
That is 100% accurate.
You just don't make it so easy, you know. But no, I've been pretty good. It's been pretty relaxed here in Florida for the most part, even though we'll get to Florida Man time in a little bit.
True. So, Troy, how are we, man?
I'm fine. I got my Yingling beer
Nice.
And got the Lakers game on over here, and so
what's our current status of the Laker game? Give us an update.
49-39 with 5 to go in the second quarter.
Okay, so a 10-point for that's 49.
Let's do it.
Nuggets.
Man.
Nuggets
yeah,
are
51-39. Nuggets are up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jokic doing the work.
Jokic had 12 boards in the first quarter.
Oh my god!
So say that again.
Jokic had 12 rebounds in the first quarter.
How does he have 12 rebounds in a quarter with Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the floor?
Because
I'm
here's
sorry.
The thing.
I'm sorry. No.
Anthony Davis is the biggest girl when it comes to the superstar, because one game he is unstoppable. The next game he is stoppable. Like, he's so bad.
He's not the timeline. That's what you're saying.
Nemo's going to be very upset with us, by the way. Nemo's a big Laker fan, so.
No, that's you know what, Nemo?
I think Laker fans would agree.
They turned it on. It is impressive how they were able to turn it on in the last third of the season and get up there, get to the 7th seed, make it here, get to the Western Conference Finals. Why couldn't they do that all year? And why is Anthony Davis not consistent?
I know why they couldn't. They didn't have Austin Reeves. That's why. It was the.
They did have Austin Reeves,
but they didn't really turn him loose until the back half of the season. They
turned him loose after the trade. They got rid of Russell.
Yes,
and they turned him loose. By the way, that dude is going to get north of like $70 to $80 million contract, because the Lakers, they are legitimately afraid they cannot keep him at 4 years, $50 million. They think another team or multiple teams will come after him for much more than that.
Absolutely, which we'll talk about. We're gonna get that to all the Thunder stuff. So we got to start off with stupidity. Jared, give us a good, brief Florida man story for today. What do you say?
So it's been like 3 weeks.
Yeah,
3 weeks since we bought it. It's been a minute. So this happened, I think, it was last week. I've been got fairly acquainted with law enforcement now.
Okay.
So not because of me, but because literally one day I got up and was like walking through my living room or whatever, and I saw like I have kind of like glass panes or whatever, they're frosted or whatever, but you could see like an outline. And I knew I was supposed to have an Amazon package coming, but like I didn't really I'm used to living in the country where it's like nobody's gonna steal your stuff or whatever. But I saw like an outline outside. And I was like, "What? There's somebody at my front door." So like I was like, maybe it's a delivery guy or whatever. I don't know. Oh, then, excuse me.
Wow.
Yeah. Suddenly got lung cancer. I opened the front door and there was like a 50-year-old woman trying to steal my Amazon package.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So a porch pirate or whatever. And like what was really funny is it was a case of energy drinks. I was like, what are you doing? And so she of course I like accosted her about it. She took off to the car
with your package.
No, she, because I caught her as she was like literally like, I think she was trying to rip it open to see what was in it, and then like heard me in the house and started to try to like leave. And so she saw, like, when I opened the door, she set it down and like took off running for her car. So luckily I was able to get out to the street and like get a partial plate off the car or whatever. And I called the cops, and my neighbor came over. My neighbor's like, he's like, "Hey, did you catch her or whatever?" And I was like, well, I'm on the phone with the cops, and I was like, yeah, I called him partial plate, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, long story short, she stole his package, which was a phone charger and some swim trunks. So she was just hitting it big. She was hitting the lottery. Her car was full of packages, which, by the way, the car was also stolen.
Oh my gosh.
So they arrested her and they like brought her, and I had to be like, yeah, that's the lady that was stealing my stuff. She had the bright idea of when she left like my house, she drove and got on the toll road and was driving one at a high rate of speed on the toll road where I'm like, they're going to take pictures of your tag. Like they're going to register your tag. Like that's the fastest way to get caught. So anyway, that was a whole deal. So like I had to, they said I may have to I've already identified her, so I wanted to go do a lineup or whatever, but I have to go to court if, depending on what happens. But yeah, 'cause she
That's
had like,
wild.
they like literally, it was like a Toyota Camry, and it was literally, they said it was like piled full of packages that she had stolen.
That's crazy.
So welcome to Florida.
Crazy. Wow, no doubt. No doubt. That was a good one. That's up there. That's up there definitely for your time there. So, well, look, because it's been 3 weeks, there's a lot to cover. And then obviously tonight we're recording this Tuesday night. The lotteries just happened. We're going to get into all that. There's lots of recruiting stuff to talk about, but let's start here. Let's give a huge congratulations, though not a surprise, let's be honest, but even still, got to give it up to the ladies of Sooner softball, going undefeated through conference play, so winning the regular season Big 12 title, then going undefeated and just sweeping the Big 12 tourney title as well, which is a single elimination deal. You have one bad day and it could all be over, and they just dominated start to finish, ended that very quickly. And I love that they did it against Texas. Just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And man, it's going to take something for this team to not win it all, to be honest. And what's crazy to think about to me is, as good as this team was last year, this team is better all around. I would say the offense is not as good, but their pitching is way better. And their defense might be better this year. And so when you balance it all out, man, it's going to be tough. So anyways, Jared, your thoughts, anything on the ladies of softball?
Yeah, I mean, obviously very impressive what they've been able to do. I was actually watching when they played Oklahoma State, and they were down, I think 2-0 going in like the final inning. And they ended up coming back, and I think they won it like 4-2 or something like that. So it's like they just even have clutch. Like they looked pretty abysmal for what they are, right?
Yeah.
They looked pretty abysmal, at least when it came to batting in the I think they had like they only had like 2 or 3 hits in the first 6 innings or whatever, and then they ended up having like six hits in the 7th inning. So they were able to just turn it on at the right time and win. But yeah, like when beating Texas, by the way, like there's not a coach. I don't know if I was actually trying to think of this. Somebody was asking this the other day. There's not a coach, I don't think, in any sport that I think is more of a jerk than Texas's coach in softball. I forget his name right now.
Mike White. Mike White.
Yeah, Mike White. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That guy is such, like, he's the embodiment of, like, I don't even know. Like, he's just the jerk. Like, he reminds me of, like, the jerk dad that goes to his kid's Little League game and is yelling, and is, like, chugging beer at a Little League game and is... like that's what I don't know why, that's just what I think he is. And he somehow became a head coach.
Yeah. I think it's the Australian accent. That's what I think it is. I think that's what does it. So Troy, any thoughts on the ladies of softball at all, as they just continue to dominate and now have, I believe there's 5 teams in the history of college softball that have won 40 straight games or more, and OU has 3 of them, I believe.
That is correct, and they have the second longest streak of all time at 43 currently, and the lead, or the highest streak, whatever, is 47.
And if they win out, I believe they get it at the very end. I think they end with 48. Isn't that correct?
Something like that, yes. But they're just fun, dude. Like, I'll be honest with you, it is really fun watching them. It is really fun watching them. Every time I get a chance, I've got it on. Now my daughter's like, "Ooh, what are you watching?" I was like, "Come here, come check it out, girl."
Yeah. So, Logan is already begging for tickets to the College World Series. Like, she is like
17-point lead for the Nuggets, by the way. 17
Oh my God.
Dude, so can we just say, like, it's almost like when you watch them, like everybody, like when you watch them bat, like it's like almost everybody can go yard at any time. The pitch, like the bullpen is ludicrous.
Yeah.
It's like it's literally like somebody did create a team and just put 99 players across the board. Like, it's insane how good they are.
I do have a problem with Brito not being on the first team or even second team.
Yeah.
Big 12. That was an absolute mistake by everybody.
Yeah, and I meant to look at it before the podcast and I forgot to just like look and see like position wise, like was it some kind of like super senior that's just had an incredible career, and so they basically said, well, you're on OU, so we're just not going to put you on, but we're going to honor this like
See baseball. Player. Here's the thing though, baseball and softball is the one sport where you can be like, hey, maybe one team has the best at every position, because it's proven out in pitching, it's proven out in your hitting, it's proven out in the outfield. Like we're like football, basketball, it's a very much team sport. Not to say baseball and softball is not, but it's still individualized in those moments.
A quarterback's going to suck if his offensive line sucks, right? Like that's what you're getting at. Whereas like
Joe Burrow
can be an absolutely dominant pitcher, and if your team can't hit, you could have losses up and down the record all year long.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Well, that was the other thing is I did see a lot of people, I know since we're just talking about softball, I saw a lot of people losing their minds about the seeding. Apparently the seeding, like when they selected the seeding, there was a lot of controversy. So I don't know. I mean,
what? Because we get the Norman Regional or
no, OKC? There were people griping about that, but the reality is like Alabama has a lot of losses and they're not very good losses, and they're the 5 seed overall. They still gave the 6 seed overall to Oklahoma State, who has lost 12 of their last 15 or 14 games.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the 6 seed. Like they're like, I'm sorry, like you lose that many games at the end of the season, I don't care about the front half of your season. You do not deserve to have that high of a ranking at all.
And by the way, wasn't there a deal about, and there was also the Baylor coach got coach of the year, wasn't that right, for the Big 12 or something like that? Where he was
coach of the year, co-coach.
And I was like, what? Yeah, did they like what? Like, did I miss something? I mean, I know
they are the only team to beat Oklahoma, and they are very highly ranked, and they've had a really good year for a program that has not historically been very good. So I understand, like it's one of those kind of Cinderella stories a little bit, right? So I can kind of get that. But anyways, but it'll be fun. Start watching games on Friday. It's going to be a good time. So Troy, let's get to your expertise, my friend. I know you are fired up. You've already been saying you can't wait to talk. The lottery is taking place. First of all, just be honest with me, Troy. Did you really believe we were going to bump out higher than the 12 pick?
No, I've been telling everybody we weren't. I was like, we were going to be the 12 pick. It would have sucked if we were the 13th or 14th. We the only opportunities we had based on everything was 1 through 4 or 12, 13, and 14. Those are the only picks we could have gotten. We had an 85% chance to get the 12 pick. I'm like, y'all, we're getting the 12 pick. They're like, look at the Bulls had 1.7% chance to get Derrick Rose. It's us this year with Wemby. It's not. We're going to get the 12 pick. What happened? We got the 12 pick. Shocker. And now you get OKC fans like, it's rigged. Spurs got it again. It's rigged. I was like, no, they're lucky as crap 3 times. 3 times luck. David Robinson. They sucked before David Robinson, so I'll give them that one, right?
But still, they had to get the ping pong balls to land, and they did.
And they did. Then they tank. I have a child in my room. Which child? Which child are you? Hey, Bubba, you got to get out, buddy. Got to get out. They're charged. Yes, it's bedtime. Get out.
I love it.
Daddy,
this has got to stay in the pod.
Oh, it absolutely.
Shut the door. Shut the door. Thank you.
We're just okay, folks.
So I told you my kids were coming home. I told you in the middle of this.
You did.
But so they have 1 year when David Robinson was in his prime, towards the end of his prime, right? Where he got hurt, Avery Johnson got hurt, Sean Elliott got hurt, and they became really bad that year. And lottery hit. Who'd they get? Timmy D.
Yep.
Right? 2 of the greatest players of all time, frankly. 2 top 50 players. You could even make a case 2 top 25 players, 2 top 20 players of all time. Right?
Yeah, especially with Duncan's longevity.
Yeah. Duncan's top 10 in my opinion. He is a top 10 player of all time. Yeah. Best power forward of all time, if we're going to go by positions. But you know what? I can't wait to see what Pop does with Wemby. He's 7'4". He is Chet, but taller. Like, they're the same player, but Wemby's taller. And he's 7'4", y'all. Like, I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see that dude ball.
So
Well,
you did not believe that we were getting up. So
No, all this
higher than
crap
the-
like Bill Simmons is talking about like karma. We're gonna get number one. Like, get out of here, Bill Simmons. All you're doing is riling up the Thunder fan base.
well, here's what's funny to me is there's two literally like two possibilities, right? There's the statistical chances that they advertise are accurate, right? Or the NBA's scripted.
Don't
Like a lot of
do it.
people try to no, hang
God.
on. I'm actually gonna like make you happy, Troy. So do you think that if the NBA was rigged, that they would hand one of the most talented players of all time to a small market team? Like
No.
if it was LA,
No,
or-
they would have given him to Dame. They would have gone Portland, and Portland almost got him. But they would have gone Portland. They don't want him to be in Charlotte. Houston sucks. Detroit's a black hole of waste, right? I am of all the things, I'm
Actually,
just
but that's
stoked.
part of it though. Of the organizations at the top that have proven they know what to do with a roster and talent, San Antonio does. So the best thing to do with the stats the way they are is to give him to the Spurs. Because
Well,
giving
no,
him to the
here's-
Spurs is almost a guarantee that they're going to be very good, and San Antonio supports like crazy that franchise.
I y'all do not go down this like conspiracy theory road. It is not true.
I'm trying to dispel it.
I know you are. Daryl's trying to get me riled up. But here's the thing. If that's the case, Houston got the first pick one year, or did they get the first pick? Or they've all been second, third. Anyway, Detroit sucks. They got Cade Cunningham at the first pick a couple years back. I mean, like, these teams get their first picks.
Okay,
right?
but
Like,
yet
so-
again,
Yeah.
let's also put a little asterisk here. Troy is still a 1B fan of the San Antonio Spurs.
No, I'm not a 1B. It's not even close to a 1B. It is Thunder. Like, there is no chance, even if we were 10-50 and the Spurs were undefeated, I would still be pulling for the Thunder every single time.
When they play each
They're-
other.
Yeah, well, now the Spurs are my second favorite team. Have been
Okay.
since I was a child.
Okay.
But that's different. There's difference between a 1-2 and a 1 and a 1B.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're two, and there's a big gap between 1 and 2.
If San Antonio is
This is
playing
coming
another,
from the same guy that sat in his living room and goes, dude, this is so hard for me because the Spurs and the Thunder are playing in the playoffs. And I'm for the Thunder, but man, it's really weird.
Well, do you remember that was the first time I dealt with that back in 2011 or 2012 or whatever it was? That was
It's
the
not
first time I
exactly-
dealt with it.
it's not exactly like Troy can be a lifetime Thunder fan.
Yeah, like we got him in
That's fair.
2010 or 2009 or whatever it was.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I
So
can't remember.
like I can't do that. It's like it's as big of a gap between my fandom between the Thunder and Spurs like it is between Georgia and Bama and everybody else in recruiting.
Oh, very nice. Well, we're gonna flip that script in a minute. So, anyways, 12th pick Thunder get the history of the Oklahoma City Thunder at the 12th pick. Well, and technically that other team that they used to be, the Sonics, produced Nick Collison, Steven Adams, and the one we now know as J-Dub. So they obviously have a great track record here. This is a good spot. Troy, I know that you've mentioned before this is a very deep draft, or at least it appears to be a very deep draft.
Mhm.
What do you think is going to be in our wheelhouse? What have you seen so far that the Thunder may actually do? And is there any potential for them to trade with a team like a Portland that kind of has an aging superstar and maybe trying to just go ahead and go full rebuild? Go.
I think there's about as much of a possibility of Portland or San Antonio trading out as there is, Daryl, of you being a Texas fan in your life.
Wow.
Because here's why. Because yes, Dame is getting older, right? He's like 31 or whatever, 32, whatever he is now. The problem is Scoot is a surefire thing. Scoot Henderson is phenomenal.
But he's going to go at 2, right?
With
Don't you think-
Portland.
I thought Portland got the 3 pick.
No, they got the 2 pick.
Ah, my bad. I wrote this down wrong.
And so
apologize.
Portland got the 2 pick. The 3 pick was Charlotte.
Okay.
So, well, you know what? Now you're
Wait, no.
making me think.
It's
No,
San
it's-
Antonio.
No, you're right. You're
San
right.
Antonio,
Okay.
Okay,
Charlotte,
that's
Portland.
why I
So,
was
yeah.
curious.
I
Because
don't think, and so Charlotte and San Antonio will not trade out. Portland, I think there's like a 5% chance they trade out just because Brandon Miller is really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's really good.
And he fits what the Thunder needs really bad.
Well, he fits what Portland needs too. A taller, athletic dude to go along with Dame and run pick and rolls. So like he fits what Portland does. I think they're not trading out. The team that could honestly trade out is Houston.
So even with all the young guys they have that they've just basically been sitting on the bench and they're a dumpster fire of an organization behind the scenes right now.
100%. If they trade out, it's because they signed James Harden in the offseason.
Oh, yeah. Okay. And that's definitely been getting rumored around like crazy.
Yes.
Let me ask this, because there's another team that's got like you said, with being a deep draft, a team that already has some potential that's got some picks. Orlando's got, they've got 2 lottery picks. They've got the number 6 and they've got the number 11. So Troy, being an expert you are, do you think it could be something that could elevate a team like Orlando?
I think anything's possible here, frankly. Because I think here's the thing. If Grady Dick falls to like 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere in that range, I think Presti is on the freaking horn trying to trade up for Grady Dick.
Yeah.
But that's just me. Anything's possible. We did not think he was going to get the 11 and 12 pick last year, and he got both of them.
Yeah.
Right. He's got a lot in his bag that he can utilize. But again, we're going to go back to the whole not the whole argument, but the whole discussion of he has so much capital here.
Yeah.
What does he do at all? Does he trade out totally?
And still, like, what even happens that's not draft related? Like, I was in a space actually right after the lottery, and they were having a long discussion that because of the new CBA and some of the things that are in there, that there's been some talk that the Celtics, especially if they don't win a championship, may very well be looking to move Jaylen Brown on his last year of his contract. And granted, it's a last year contract. You'd only have him for one, but they were throwing around like how you combo like a Dort. And so basically you're swapping Dort for Jaylen Brown in the offseason and maybe a future pick of some kind or whatever. But it's like, man, like when you just think about the cap room and all that, like you said, there are so many possibilities that he can go and put
so
together.
many possibilities. But here's the ultimate thing is like, there's been no sign from the organization that they're disillusioned with your boy at all.
Right.
They love him, right?
Yep.
They love the Aussie.
Yeah.
They think Chet is going to hit he's going to be a home run.
Yeah.
They have a home run already in Shea. And so like you trade for a Jaylen, you can't have 4 maxes on there. And so that's what they're staring down the barrel of. That's where it's like, I as much as I would love it, but also if you get a Jaylen Brown, does that stunt the growth of dudes like Ousmane Dieng, Chet, guys like that? Because he's going to need the ball to be good, right? Shea's going to get his regardless if Jaylen comes. It's already proven that he's a superstar, right? So is that going to stunt the growth of all these dudes?
It's a valid point. I think it could. I don't know what Jared will think on it, but I would say this. The thing I like about that thought process is obviously your defense is going to come down a little bit, even though Jaylen Brown's a good defender. Do not hear me wrong, but I just don't believe he's a Dort defender. But I also believe his offense is obviously much more consistent and better than Dort's. And so when you think about a Giddey truly just getting to be 95% facilitator, and all those guys on the floor, that's a really fun way to think about that. Like that's the floor is going to be so spaced for him to either drive, to go to leave space for Chet, or to kick to either wing to J-Dub or Jaylen Brown. And I just think that could be fun. And again, I'm not saying Dort's bad. I just think that it's the scales, right? If it's like this, if you switch those players, it goes just a little bit this way, right?
Oh, I agree. If we got Jaylen Brown on next year's team, we're immediately a top 3 team.
Yeah. So
in the West. In the West, don't know how it plays out overall, but like
I think that's.
Sorry,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I was gonna say I think it's just weighing like the long term versus short term, right? Because like, if he's on last year of his contract, is what are you gonna be able to re-sign him if you want? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of variables there where you pretty much know you're gonna have Dort, right? Dort may not be as good, but long term, is he gonna be more of a payoff than? I think that's what you have to kind of look at is more of the long term versus short term.
because
And
because
Presti's more. I think he's leaned more towards the long term, right? So
yeah, and we've seen it, right?
Mhm.
And I think what you said is a good point because Dort, what they have constructed right now
Mhm.
fits from a money standpoint.
Oh, 100%.
Even if they all progress into players we think they can be, Dort's hit his ceiling. We all agree. Even though he's 25, he's hit his ceiling, and it's a good ceiling. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
It's a very
Yes.
good ceiling. But that's it. Shea can still go. I
Yeah.
truly believe his ceiling is still up there.
Mhm.
So that being said, he's on a max. Say Chet might be on a max. Giddy might be closer on a max or whatever. I think a max of what he can get. I don't think he's going to get a super max. I think he's going to draw like an Austin Reeves max.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's
so
where it would be interesting to see. And that's where I keep coming back to everybody's crucifying me for the whole Giddy talk. But when you start thinking down the road, when I think J-Dub, Chet, Shea, and Giddy, those four, like are all guys that I think have the potential to be in that max area of contract, right? Like you said. Giddy's the one I cut loose. Like, I feel like his ceiling is lower than J-Dub's. I feel like his ceiling is lower than Chet's and is obviously lower than Shea's. And so at that point, those are the three that you can kind of give that kind of money to and move forward with, and that's another thing that'll be fascinating to see what he does. And I think the Thunder love Giddy. Don't get me wrong. And I think he's a very, very, very good player. But when you do start thinking down the road of what you can or can't get, you can't keep all four of those guys if they're what we think they are. And it's just going to be interesting to see how they play that out.
so another thing that I think you almost have to factor in a little bit is not to say that they couldn't have great chemistry, but like right now this team has really good chemistry with each other. Like, you can tell they love to play with each other, like they hang out. Like, there was so many incidents where like one, like I don't remember who it was. I think it was Giddy was getting interviewed or somebody, and like Shea ran over and was giving him a hard time. Or, you know what I mean? Like, they just obviously love to play together. So it's like that's another reason that I would like be more hesitant, is because it's like, are you going to risk affecting that chemistry? You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So I'm looking up a couple of mock drafts here, right?
Okay.
Victor's gonna go 1, Scoot or Brandon Miller will go 2 or 3.
Wow.
Okay?
Well, that kills one of my questions I had for you.
So what?
Well, I was wondering if Brandon Miller might actually fall because of the gun shooting incident.
He's in the top 3 of every single mock draft I'm looking at. There's no chance he falls. There's no chance. And then if you start going down the list, like they have Grady Dick anywhere from 7 to 10. They have us at 12 taking and this one, Nick Smith Jr. from Arkansas, the freshman, 6'4", 185. And then the Keontae George kid from Baylor that I've seen in a couple mocks. So,
well, in the space I was in, the name that kept coming up was Leonard Miller, a Kentucky kid, 6'10", kind of a wing, skill set, but 6'10" size. That was a name that kept getting thrown around in there in the space I was in. It had like, Schlecht and the Daily Thunder guys and all that stuff in there, which was interesting. And Hendricks was another name that kept getting thrown around, but I didn't know much about him at all. So it's going to be fascinating. And with all the capital the Thunder have, I can't wait for the rumor mill just to go wild. And all of us to be wrong, and some kid named Jalen Williams getting picked that we're all like, who is this kid? Why are we taking them? Or Usman Jang, and boom.
Honestly, at this point, it's like I wouldn't be surprised if Presti doesn't finesse somebody out of a pick, like, again. You know what I mean?
Well,
like he makes
last year with the Knicks.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Like he's 100% found a way to just absolutely rob people on picks. So I would nothing like you kind of like you said earlier, Troy, nothing would surprise me, honestly.
I have no idea what's going to happen. I can't wait to see what happens, because it's the freaking best every single time.
Well, and the other thing that has happened, so let's shift and kind of move a little bit on the Thunder here. Shy Gilgeous-Alexander made the first team.
I can't believe you said that. I don't even like that you referenced it.
I mean, come on, man.
Pissed
Danny
me
Green,
off.
what is wrong with you? I mean, let's like, how stupid and terrible. You like supposedly still play in the NBA and you don't even know how to say his name. And he has been one of the best players in the NBA all season long. It was absolutely ridiculous. But in all honesty, Shea got his first team All NBA, and it was more than well deserved. 100%. So glad he got it. The snub of the year was Dort not making first or second team All NBA defense, which I just.
Well, Josh Giddey said it best. He got snubbed from being one of the snubs. Like people weren't calling him out as being a snub.
Yeah.
Seriously, like as soon as the teams came and were revealed, his name, nobody talked about his name, and Josh Giddey like tweeted or something like that about like, how do you get snubbed but from the snubs?
Right.
And you're the best defender in the NBA. Like,
yes. And 100 NBA players vote you the number 2 defender in all of the NBA.
When the NBA players are saying you're a top 3 defender in the NBA, give me a break.
I would say there's even been like this season. There's actually been like a few interviews where like other players have talked about him in their interviews about how good he is defensively.
And
so,
that is, by the way, that statement, Jared. One of them was Damian Lillard was one of the guys who said that he is the best defender. And the rumor going around was that Portland, if they fell out of the Wembanyama sweepstakes, they didn't get the 1 pick, that they would be looking to trade for someone defensively and give up the 3 pick. And so that's what started the conversation that I was in the space in, was because of that very thing you're saying, that Dame Lillard said this dude is the best defender in the NBA. And there's been a couple other guys that have thrown that it's that kind of description out.
You know, obviously, like as much as I would love for us to somehow land Victor, I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But I think what people have to also like put into their mind and understand with Presti is we keep talking about it. He has a massive amount of draft equity right now. And so if he wants to move up or he wants to make some big plays, like there's plenty of teams right now in the NBA that are close to a rebuild mode and needing picks. You know, even like I've even seen people talking about the 76ers being like a team that like basically if they don't win it this year, they need to go full rebuild. You know, so it's like there's a lot of teams that you may not think that are close to a rebuild or even in a rebuild, but they're like they are. So there's a whole lot of paths that Presti can do. And so, you know, if they end up with the 3 pick, I wouldn't be surprised if nothing's going to shock me, honestly. Honestly, the only thing that would shock me is if somehow he finessed his way into the number 1 pick, and he's not going to with San Antonio.
No, I mean, when you're talking about a guy that by almost every analyst is being called the greatest prospect since LeBron James, I mean, you can't give that guy up. I mean, not unless Presti wants to give them our whole starting lineup and our 12 pick, you know, I mean, like maybe you could convince somebody at that point, you know, to do something that way. And we have lost Troy. Troy is
I bet he's restarting. He's had some audio issues. So
oh man, so he's out of there. Staying on the NBA note though, obviously we still have the Nuggets game going. The last we checked it was 16. I haven't looked at it here in a minute. Let me see if I can pull that up. But man, overall the NBA playoffs have been highly entertaining. Whereas normally our first round games are just snoozers. You just are, you know, at least the last 2 or 3 years, it's kind of been like, why are the playoffs so long? Why do we drag this out forever? And instead this year, it has been more than entertaining. I mean, 7-game series, the whole thing, and Troy's coming back. It has just been so fun.
They're up 18 right now.
Up 18 right now. Um,
8:15 into the third.
That's on me. I went to get another beer and then unplugged my computer.
well, I was just saying, Troy, to me, the last couple of years, it has felt like the playoffs, the first round or two is very like, why are the playoffs so long? Like, can we just get to, and this year it's just been phenomenal, start to finish. It has been great games, great finishes, great performances. So fun to watch.
You aren't kidding, man. I don't want it to end. Like this has been fantastic.
Yes.
So
And by the way, I hope the NBA learned something. Let's talk about this for a second, right? I think we all three have talked about this and agree. The NBA is the worst about catering to whatever its players wants, right? No matter what it is, including the way that they allow players to collude and they allow front offices to collude to create super teams, right? And guess what? When they've done that, what we just said was the product they got. None of us wanted to watch. Not until it got down to the end, and there might be a chance of the other really good team somehow, some way pulling a Herculean effort out and winning, right? This year, there has been parity in the NBA. And guess what? It's good for you, NBA. It is okay to tell guys you can't pull 5 superstars into one starting lineup. You need to work through the draft and develop some people, because when you get these kinds of series, it's really fun to watch. And literally almost every team in it, for the most part, has been built by the draft and by
so let's talk about
agency.
that. Let's talk about that. So here are the 4 teams: the Heat, the Celtics, the Nuggets, the Lakers. Now, the Heat outside of Jimmy Butler were built through the draft.
Correct.
Like
that's not a super team, but that's the thing. That's not a super team. That's a team going, we've built a really good nucleus. Yeah. We need a superstar to help this team.
And they got one, and they nailed one in the free agency. They got Jimmy Butler.
Right.
Now the Lakers, on the other hand, is that trying to build a super team, right? LeBron and AD forced the trade, all the fun stuff.
Right.
Nuggets through the draft, Celtics through the draft.
And see, but you could even argue right now the Lakers, right? Austin Reeves, draft pick. There's another guy that's really doing some work.
Vanderbilt is not bad either.
Vanderbilt is a decent player. Now they signed Schroeder as a free agent.
Schroeder, D'Angelo Russell. They tried the Russell Westbrook thing for a year and a half, right? Pat Bev, like LeBron, AD. They're the super team. I'm sorry. Like, you can say Vanderbilt and Austin Reeves, whatever, but they're a super team. LeBron hasn't won without it.
But then you've got the Celtics, the Heat, and the Nuggets are all mostly draft built, right? And development built. Like that, like you can do it, NBA. It's really okay.
Just now, Jokic, this is a stat midway through the third quarter. 23 points, 17 rebounds, 11 assists.
So he's triple-double in the third.
And he's 9 of 12 from the field. 9 of 12. And 2 blocks. Yeah. He is.
Oh my god.
So
wildly good.
So I do want to I do want to say, like, so this year's sports, so a sport that I've kind of got into, it's really funny. I've actually realized now that we're discussing it. Another league that has very similarities to a lot of similarities to the NBA is the NHL. So like I've kind of started getting into hockey. Like I don't really watched, but like the Stanley Cup's actually been really fun this year. It's been some crazy games. But like there was a big controversy. What kind of made me think about this, Troy, was we were talking about the lottery earlier, and like for one, there's a lot of teams in the NHL that are similar, trying to build super teams and all that. But the big controversy right now is the Chicago Blackhawks got the #1 pick in this year's draft in their draft lottery, because they do draft lottery just like the NBA. I don't remember what the percentages was, but they weren't the top team to get the draft pick. Like they pulled out a sneaky #1 pick, and like the kid that they can, it's basically the same thing as like Victor. It's like the kid that they're going to draft is like the second coming of Wayne Gretzky.
Right.
And everybody's like, well, Chicago's like been a perennial powerhouse of they're the Lakers or Yankees or whatever. Like they are them. It's like them and Boston are traditionally the best NHL teams. So it's kind of funny to see that, because it's like, that's what a lot of people I think in the NHL are afraid of. Like you were saying, Daryl, is like they don't want to have it to where there's not parity. Right now, there's a lot of parity in the NHL. The games have been really fun. I don't know hardly anything about hockey, but it's fun to watch because, like, I literally watched a game the other day and they were down, like, a team was down like 4-0, which is a pretty big, or no, yeah, it was 2-0 in like the third, and they came back and won it like 4-2. Like, it was just insane, you know? So, you want to have that parity, you want to have that competition. And like you said, if we're going to have the Golden State or the Miami Heat super team sort of things, those sorts of setups, and it's like it's not going to be fun. Like you said, the playoffs is going to suck to watch. Like the finals might be fun or the conference finals, but everything else is going to be terrible to watch.
So next year's draft, we have 4 first-round picks.
Yeah. And there's no way we can use all of them. Like,
no, there's not. So we have the Rockets top 4 protected. So if they go get James Harden, we have their pick.
Yeah.
Right. Clippers unprotected. Suck all you want. You know, trade Paul George. Kawhi get hurt again.
Yes.
Once you flake out, I'm good. Jazz top 10 protected. The Jazz will be on the cusp. They'll be on the cusp.
So we may not get that pick.
We may not get that pick, and then we have ours.
And Troy, I don't even remember. It all depends in the contract, right? Like, so if it's protected, it's not just bumped back a year. Does it turn into a second rounder?
It depends. It depends. So, like, it depends on the trade, right? So I don't know what the terms are. A lot of times and I try to do this with Tyler in one of our trades in our fantasy draft.
Yes.
But what you'll do is, like, if it's top 5 protected, then and it doesn't hit, the next year it becomes top 3 protected, and the next year it could be unprotected or 2 second rounders or something like that. So like
it just depends on the
goes
terms.
Down the line.
Yeah,
it depends on the terms. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, it's like I said, it's just going to be fascinating to see what he does with those picks. That he's got over $30 million in cap space. You've got guys on great contracts throughout this team that you could trade and create more cap space by trading that contract off. It's just going to be fascinating.
Well, and real quick, so Troy, one thing that I mentioned, I think while you were gone, is the amount of teams that right now are in the rebuild that are either that in a rebuild or close to being in a rebuild. It's like, honestly, nothing. Like, the only thing that would surprise me that Sam Presti does is if he somehow gets Victor, which he's not. But you know what I mean? Like, that'd be the only thing that surprised me. If he went and got Houston's number 3 pick somehow, I probably wouldn't be shocked. He has enough draft equity that a team that's in a rebuild, he could easily go basically buy their pick with draft picks.
Yeah.
By the way, I do not feel sorry for Houston or Detroit. Detroit fell from 1 to 5. Houston went from 2 to 5, 2 to 4. I don't feel sorry for you because y'all are black holes of NBA talent.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah. Even though people keep putting us in that category for whatever reason, and I don't understand. Understand.
We have the 6th most cap space, and so we can do whatever we want. I think he's building for the future, obviously, like you were talking about, Jared. But we can do whatever we want here, and it's just fascinating. So, all right, let me ask you this: on the team, who is part of the nucleus that's getting playing time every single game next year?
As currently constructed.
Yeah, as current with, and let's say the number 12 pick, right? Let's just say we don't move, like we get the 12 pick, okay? So Shea,
yes,
easy. Chet,
yes,
easy. Giddy,
yes.
J-Dub, easy. Those are the 4 easy ones. Dort, easy. Yeah. If we're trying to win, he's playing, right?
100%.
Those 5. I think another one, Isaiah Joe, easy. Number 6, he's the 6th guy.
Maybe.
You don't think he's the okay?
You put him above J-Dub?
No, J-Dub's already in the 5.
Oh, okay. I'm saying Isaiah Joe will be part of the rotation period all year.
Oh, yeah.
It depends on the 12 pick for me. Because I think Aaron Wiggins plays over Isaiah Joe.
Okay.
And I also think Kendrick Williams will play
is
more of a role than Isaiah Joe will. So that's 7 guys. If your 12 pick works out, that's 8. So that puts Isaiah Joe in that 9 spot.
I don't think Isaiah Joe has already proven the dude is a proven shooter, marksman, athlete, more of an athlete than you think he is, and he can defend.
I don't disagree with you, Troy. I just think that Wiggins' versatility and size edges him as far as who they would play more, depending on what happens with the 12th pick.
So, but okay, when it went down the stretch in the play-in, their rotation got down to like 8 dudes.
And Wiggins
right?
was one of them.
I'm not saying he wasn't. He was one of them. So was Isaiah Joe for sure.
Right.
It was Isaiah Joe, Wiggins, and who was our
oh crap. Saric, wasn't it?
Saric, yeah, Saric. But like that was they. Hold on, I'm bringing up our last game, right?
And the other side. Now, the other side of that, Troy. To be fair, I agree with you. Joe's really good, and if his minutes are low in those last couple games, he just went cold at the end of the season. He did, and that's not to say he's a bad player. He just went through a bad stretch.
Yeah. Oh, we forgot. Okay, is Jalen Williams the other Jay?
Oh, that's who we forgot
too, because he's going to be the backup center at that point.
Let me ask you this real quick, just to kind of just shoot off on another thing.
Before you go there, Isaiah Joe led the bench minutes in the play-in.
In the in the last play-in game,
both of them.
We got beat pretty bad in the second one, though, didn't we?
He in the second one we did, but he led the minutes off the bench each game.
Yeah. Which it makes sense in the second game because you were down so much, you were trying to put shooters on the floor. To me,
the first game was so close,
right?
He had more minutes than Aaron Wiggins.
Yeah.
So I mean,
you're probably right.
And and this is the thing you also think of, because we keep talking about the draft pick, who's gonna be number 12 and all that, but it's like, say for some reason Presti just traded away the pick. I don't know why you would, but just say we didn't get the number 12 pick. If he just develops the guys he has on this roster, this team's still very good next year. Like, even with what you have right now, like, you're still a very good team.
100%. We get Chet back. Like, he's Wemby before Wemby. Like, we get Chet.
Look, Troy, you and I have had this conversation a lot, like just talking on the phone and stuff. Chet for sure already elevates the team crazy good. But think about this. What if the flashes of Ousmane Dieng, the flash parts of him, 100%. Come down like 30% even, but consistent? Dude, that guy, he will be an incredible piece on this team if he can be that guy. Like, those are the guys, right? If Isaiah Joe doesn't go through a cold streak to end the season, I mean, just those little things are, those three guys right there developed, like you're saying, Jared. That's what, Troy, 8, 9, 10 games?
No, it's not 10 games. We're not going to win 50 games next year. We are 40-42. We're not winning 50. I will put a bet on it right now. We do not win 50 games next year.
So with the play-in, we went what? 41 and
43.
43.
No, so I'm talking regular play-in's not part of it.
So what, like with those three developed in what, those 7 games? 6?
I think we're happy at 45 to 46 wins next year.
Okay, but I mean, I don't know. I could see us winning more. I don't know, but
I'll take a bet right now with either of y'all. Like, I'll do it right now. Let's go. We will not win 50. Either you and I'll double this bet.
Both you double this bet.
Let's run it.
I'm not fighting for it that hard. I asked you a question.
Jared, look at him. He is thinking long and hard on this. Look at him.
I mean, like, okay, like I will, let's come back to me on it in like after the draft. Post draft, we'll talk about it.
Put your money. I do think that's fair because there are teams that could cash it in, and the West just go to crap.
I'm basing this on a number of things that nobody has control over right now, right? Like, everybody's staying healthy. Chet coming back, that, and they're not being like us not doing something crazy in the draft, or whatever. So it's hard for me to say right now we're going to win 50 games, but that's what I'm saying. If this team just stayed the same, I definitely think this team's above 500, right? Even if they don't bring anybody in, if Chet just comes in, I think they're well above 500. So that's what I'm saying. Like, there's not a team I would literally could not think of another team that's better positioned to have long-term success if they can keep the, like you said, that nucleus together. And they have a good chance of doing that.
So put your money where your mouth is.
After the draft, we'll talk about it.
After the draft, we'll talk
Oh
about it.
my gosh.
Hey, Troy, I want to get you triggered a little bit. So these games have been very, very tight. You've already said you don't enjoy conspiracy theories.
I don't.
With everything. How do you feel about MVP finalists saying that he needs more players to step up in order for them to win a series?
What a freaking joke Joel Embiid is. Can we just throw it out there? When he says he's the MVP of the league. And by the way, I'm okay with that this year.
Yes.
Jokic was right there. Like, they were both phenomenal. Embiid got first team over Jokic. By the way, next year's going to all five, like, just no positionless All-NBA teams. Yeah. That being said, for him to say, you're up 3-2, bro. You're up 3-2. And for him to say, James Harden, I can't do it alone. Really? Really? So you, the leader, the MVP of the entire league, said you can't do it alone. Shall we go to your last game and see what you did, Joel Embiid? Here we go. Where nobody in the history of the NBA has dropped 50 points in a game 7. Had that happen to you, Joel Embiid. Had that happen to you. And so Jason Tatum, by the way, a stellar dude. Yes. Embiid, you go 5 of 18. Harden goes 3 of 11. You only have 8 points, 0 for 4 on 3-pointers.
And I believe he had 5 turnovers. Is that right?
4 turnovers. Harden had 5.
Harden had 5.
The team only had 12 turnovers, 9 of them by those two. So you had a -28 plus minus for Embiid and a -30. That's on you. It's not the other players. In fact, PJ Tucker went 3 of 6 behind the arc.
Yes.
In fact, Tyrese Maxey was carrying you two over the last few games. Tobias Harris, like, he didn't shoot well in 3, but he was 7 of 13. Like, don't give me this crap. Like, you need more help. You have one of the best teams put together. Yes, Doc Rivers sucks, and that's why he got fired. But you, as the leader, your team deserves better than that. Yeah. You're the MVP of the league. Your team and your league deserves better than that. That's not what a leader does. A leader does what Jokic did. In the press conference with Christian Braun one day, Christian Braun was I think early in the playoffs, talking about strategy and how they were going to defend the next game, going too much into it, where to give away something. Jokic was the next in line for the press conference. He just goes right, walks up there right calmly. He's like, all right, it's my turn. I want to talk to these guys. Leads the dude away. That's what a leader does. A leader doesn't throw your teammates under the bus.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like,
I mean,
I didn't like Embiid at a certain point, but now, like, you're on my hit list, bro.
I mean, it's what's funny is it's like when you look at some of the, like, there's been great players in the NBA that just don't have that intangible factor, and like, to me, that's like a huge portion, especially in basketball, right, where there's only 5 guys on the court at a time. Yes, you can have all the physical ability, but you still have to rely on those 4 other guys on the floor with you. Like, look at Dwight Howard. Like, we can all talk about Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard physically was phenomenal. Like, the dude was a beast, but mentally, absolute terrible in the locker room, and absolute terrible of a leader. He was never going to be able to take a team as far as somebody like, say, even like you look at like a Michael Jordan, or even honestly, even a LeBron James. I know a lot of people hate LeBron James, but you know what I mean? Like, I don't see LeBron James that's sitting there saying, oh, well, I can't do it all by myself. Even when he was in Cleveland doing it all by himself and had terrible rosters around him and was just literally the best player in the NBA, he wasn't coming out at press conferences being like, well, it's just me out on the floor. You know,
no,
I mean,
I agree with you. And here's the thing. No star has really done it by themselves. Jordan had Pippen, right?
And Rodman.
Sure, we'll go Rodman. I mean, look at Kobe's teams, right? Had Pau Gasol and when he was a top 10 player at the time. He had Shaq. LeBron has one. Like, there's no team that does it by themselves. That is an interesting topic though. How many teams won with one true superstar? The Mavericks did it a few years ago with Dirk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Pistons did it with no true superstar. That was the epitome of a
Just
team.
depth. Yeah, that was
So
just
they're
depth.
so good. The one with Chauncey Billups,
Yes.
Tayshaun Prince, Rasheed
Rip
Wallace,
Hamilton.
Ben
Yeah.
Wallace, Rip Hamilton. We just named the starting five right there. They're good. But the Spurs now, what about the Spurs? Because Tony was like borderline. He was all stars. Manu got all stars. Timmy was the dude.
I mean, I would say okay, but like
Timmy was a superstar, and the other two were all stars. I think that's a.
I mean,
Yeah.
like LeBron, like I said, LeBron. I know he didn't win a championship in Cleveland, but like LeBron willed them to the finals, and so you know what I mean. Like he took them a long way by himself with pretty much nobody on the roster with him.
Think about LeBron's legacy. I know he's going to go down as a top 3 player of all time, maybe even the best player of all time. LeBron might.
Yeah.
But think about his legacy. If he only wins 2 titles, but he does all of this with Cleveland, how much more is he celebrated? I think it's the same sentiment we use with KD. Like KD got 2 titles with Steph, hasn't done jack crap since then. And by the way, like they had injuries with the Suns. I thought the Suns were the better team healthy.
Yeah.
But like how much better are those legacies? But then you have the guys like Charles Barkley never won, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like now I'm going back. I'm looking at these teams. The Warriors last year they had a team, right?
I mean,
The Lakers had a team.
it's the epitome though of like it's a big risk, right? Like if you like LeBron and AD teaming up, right? If they don't win a championship, it's going to be seen as a failure. Like,
Oh
you know what
yeah.
I mean? It's going to seem like it's a
But they've already won
lackluster.
a championship, though.
Yeah, I know. What I'm saying is
He's
that
saying
if
when they make when
yeah, when
their
they
teams.
when they make the decision to partner up, like if say Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, and LeBron all in the Heat, and they never won a championship, everybody would have been like, that was the dumbest decision. Like that was such a waste, right? Like it would have been it would have escalated the amount of people questioning them
So
and tarnishing their legacy. Is how I should say that.
would you say that the Raptors, the year they won with Kawhi?
Oof.
Because by the way,
Yeah.
But they had a
the Spurs
Yeah.
final year was with Kawhi.
so
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
was Lowry. They had Lowry and what's his name, the young.
Pascal Siakam.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
the Raptors had what? They had Serge, Kawhi.
They had
Serge Kawhi, Lowry,
Kyle
and
Lowry,
Siakam.
and Siakam. They had a squad.
That's like I was about to say though. Is like I'm like I don't think anybody necessarily else on there is a superstar, but that's a solid roster.
What about the Bucks with Giannis a couple years ago?
Depends on how you view Chris Middleton.
He's not a star. He's made one All-Star. He's not there.
Yeah.
Like he's phenomenal when he's on, but he wasn't on this year, and so that's why they
No.
lost.
Yeah. Giannis might be the closest. It might be the closest. So, well, hey, we're going to come back. There's going to be lots to talk about leading up to the draft and all the different things. Let's shift gears now to Sooners and mainly talk recruiting tonight because obviously the team is actually a bunch of the team is in South Africa right now on one of their soul mission journeys right now, which has been really cool to watch. But the big news, I would say, in recruiting wise, this week, Xadavien Sims, who is from Durant, Oklahoma. He also happens to be the 16th ranked defensive lineman, according to the composite on 247, and the 121st overall ranked athlete in this class. The crystal balls have been flowing for Oklahoma this week, but also Oregon is in that mix. He is announcing this Saturday, May 20th at 3:45 p.m., but it definitely seems like it's going to come down to unfortunately, a OU versus Oregon battle. But this could be the kickoff to a D-line class. Jared, what are you thinking? Have you heard anything? Have been able to talk to anything on this situation?
I just hope that Oregon fumbles their paperwork again.
Well played.
Well
played.
No, I mean, look, there's been a lot. I've seen like, look, Gerald McCoy if he isn't on the payroll somehow, he needs to be on the payroll because like that dude's tweeting at recruits all. He even tweeted about Reeves, like he was even tweeting about him being
Yeah.
a OU boy. You know, so but I know he's been tweeting at him a lot. Obviously, he's been tweeting at David Stone and all of them too. But you know, I don't know. I'm hopeful, but like you said, it could go either way. Like the reality is that as much as Oregon probably hasn't had the success of a lot of other teams, they have their facilities are pretty much next to nobody. Almost nobody does it as well as they do.
Right.
They've got top facilities. They've got top backing because basically Nike's going to bankroll them.
Yep.
You know, there's just a lot to offer. As much as I hate to say that, so I wouldn't be surprised if it went Oregon. But yeah, you know, like I said, I've heard a lot of people. I think even Thune was talking about how like it was kind of like trending OU's way, and then it went back Oregon's way. So I think it's kind of one of those back and forth sort of thing. So it's really like to me, it's a coin flip. I don't really know what's going to happen. I'm hopeful. Venables has had a good track record thus far of obviously in his short career of kind of like really going out and getting the Oklahoma and Texas kids and making them come to Oklahoma. So
Yeah.
I'll nod a little bit towards Oklahoma.
What do you think happens, Daryl?
I mean, if you'd have asked me at the start of this cycle, like when we really got into the 24 class, a lot of what I was hearing was it wasn't that he was not an Oklahoma kid or like didn't like Oklahoma, but he's just one of those kids that's grown up in Durant his whole life, and the opportunity to get to go live somewhere else for 4 years was on his radar. Is kind of what I had heard, right? Like just I want to spread my wings and see the world and pursue this at the same time.
I see what
So
you
the
did there.
fact the fact that OU's in it at all this tightly is actually very surprising to me. I'm probably going to lean Oregon, but the guys that really seem to be tapped into this stuff, I mean, the Thunes of the world and all them are very much leaning Oklahoma. I mean, they're definitely not overly confident, but man, what a kickoff it would be. I mean,
But they're crystal balling us.
yes, they are. But I mean, again, they crystal ball David Hicks too. I mean, like, I mean, like crystal balls. It's
well,
tough because, like with anything, when you're a beat writer and you're calling and trying to get information, they know who you write for. They know, you know what I mean. So you have to try to read between everything and read body language and whatnot.
Well, here's the other thing you have to keep in mind on is it's NIL. Like we're in NIL era now, right? It easily could be like the Hicks situation seemed to be that way of like somebody could just drop the bag on the last day before and all of a sudden he's going to Oregon, right? Like up until that point, he may have been truthful in saying, I want to go to Oklahoma. And then somebody comes and says, here's $1 million NIL deal.
But again, but even to that, because I want to be very clear, because people have been very harsh, especially on the Twitterverse towards David Hicks. If David Hicks fully had the reins to make his own decision, it did not matter the bag that A&M dropped.
No, yeah.
He wanted OU. The family wanted the. So I'm just clarifying that one. But I'm saying the same with like a Xadavien Sims. Like you don't know what other factors are moving. Like, so for instance, from what I'm hearing, his family loves OU. And I think that's one of the reasons that OU is in it. So a big question is going to be like, how much do they say, look, this is your deal, you need to do your thing? Or how much are they going to say, we really think this is best, and does he listen? You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many factors. Whereas David Stone, it's the opposite, right? Like, he loves OU. Mom and dad don't know if they want him back around Oklahoma, like with some, connections and things he's had there in the past.
Well, and to your point, and this is something like I said, I'd be very interested if Gerald McCoy, especially, I know I keep talking about him, but he's played a prominent role, especially in the D-line recruiting, on at least on Twitter and so forth. Is he was even talking about how at one point he wanted to leave Oklahoma. He was in Oklahoma, and he was like, I didn't know I want to stay in Oklahoma, and he basically even said, I think I don't know if it was in a space or something. I heard him talking about it, but he said that like. Basically, Bob Stoops and the staff at OU basically said, look, you can go to OU for 3 years or 4 years, and then you can go play NFL wherever you want. Like, that's what you're going to be able to do here. And so if they can try to sell that, I mean, Venables has already got a good track record. So, it's 3 or 4 years. I get wanting to move out, but it's like, if you're successful, if you're going to be as good as you are advertised, you're going to be out of Oklahoma. Oklahoma doesn't have an NFL team. So, you're going to be able to move on. Yeah, but I know what you're saying. I don't want to also clarify. I wasn't trying to slam Hicks.
Yeah.
Because I understand. Like there's a whole lot of variables that people don't understand behind the scenes, but still, you know what I'm saying? If somebody comes in and drops the bag for whatever reason, whether it's the parents or the kid or whatever situation, dropping a bag of money on a situation completely can change the dynamic of how things are going to go.
Oh, 100%. And look, Dan Lanning is a dynamite recruiter. I mean, he's good with the kids and he is an assassin when it comes to recruiting. So he's going to be tough. But man, it'd be a great kickoff. Now, we've talked about this before, but I've never really given the numbers to it, right? So I've been reading and trying to ask even the some folks that, you know, supposedly kind of know on the inside. From everything I'm hearing, the combination of edge and an interior D lineman, OU is looking to take 5 to 7. Okay, I've heard as low as 5, as high as 7, right? Let's just talk about the crystal balls that OU has right now and or official visits that OU has gained from guys. Now, I know the NCAA just changed their rules to where guys can get as many, you know, official visits as they want, but they're still kind of keeping them limited because the schools can't offer more. Does that make sense? Like, it's a weird ruling. Xadavien Sims is one of them. We just gave those numbers. He's the number 16 defensive lineman. David Stone, we've talked about over and over. Number 2 defensive lineman, number 8 overall. Williams Noweri, number 1 defensive lineman, number 4 overall. Dominic McKinley out of Louisiana is coming on an official visit. He has 3 official visits right now scheduled. We're one of them. He's the number 5 defensive lineman, 30 overall. Nigel Smith, there is tons of smoke that he's kind of a quiet commit, if you will. Number 10 defensive lineman, number 70 overall. Danny Okoye, there's starting to be a lot of smoke with him. If you go to the sites, it's still going to say cool or whatever. There's a lot of discussion going on with him. He's the number 12 edge, number 148 overall. Logan Thomas is high on OU, number 15 edge, number 173 overall. And then Zena, I'm not going to get this right. Yumio
Warrior
Zulu,
Princess.
And he's the number 10 edge and number 113 overall. And then to add on to all this, Kellen Lindstrom, in the midst of us not podcasting, committed to Tennessee. He wanted to commit to OU and committed to Tennessee because OU tried to slow things down because they felt good with other prospects. Oh, you know, he's just the number 37 defensive lineman and number 228 overall. You just turned away a top 40 defensive lineman at a school that is dying to get defensive linemen because you feel that good about these other positions. Can you imagine if they get 4 of those?
I was gonna say, if you get 3 or 4 of those guys, like the defensive line is going to look different. Like the defensive line room is going to be much different. I
mean, holy crap, Troy.
Here's a secret. It already looks a little different.
Well, yes.
It already looks a little different. Just saying.
Oh, man. I mean, guys, we're talking about a return of OU defense. I mean, and granted, we're in an era of football that doesn't – I don't believe we're in the era anymore that great defense can win a championship like on its own. But you have to have great defense to give yourself a chance. I mean, you have to, and it starts at the line. And for everybody calling for Todd Bates' head last year after being around for 3 months and trying to recruit and losing David Hicks, quote unquote, the dude is cleaning house right now. I mean, as far as who he's in with, it could be incredible. Oh, and I didn't even say Joseph Jonah Ajonye. I went right over his name. Number 14, 111. And again, he's another guy that sounds like it's almost a done deal. Like I'd say the guys that are closest to done deals for OU, at least close. Noweri, which is number 1 overall D lineman, Joseph Ajonye, and then Nigel Smith. You get those 3 guys. Those 3.
Here's the thing you have to realize. Like I said, this is kind of becoming the Venables effect. Whatever the record is, Venables has shown his entire time at Clemson, his entire time at OU, he was developing defensive players, but especially on the defensive line.
Yep.
Right. I mean, obviously, he had some linebackers and stuff too, but you know, you had Gerald McCoy, you had Lawson at Clemson. I mean, you had some of the just absolute powerhouses. And I would even say that if you took a kid and sat him down and put on the film last year compared to the year previous, he elevated the play of a lot of guys on the defensive line beyond what they were the year before. Now, I know the defensive line wasn't phenomenal last year, right? But the guys that were playing, I felt like played better than the previous year. You just lost a lot of talent on the defensive line, as weird as that is to say.
I agree. And by the way, the other guy cleaning, and we're running out of time, but just to go through, the other guy that's in the same position is DeMarco Murray, by the way. You right now have smoke for Caden Durham, who's the number 10 running back in the country. There is a lot of smoke for Taylor Tatum, who's the number 2 running back in the country. Xavier Robinson, who's an OK Preps product, 6'2", 225, people. Like, going into his senior year, he is 6'2", 225. He's number 58, but I can't imagine how all they will use him. Tavian Mizell decommitted from Georgia after his Oklahoma visit. He's on the radar. And you still have Stacey Gage out there on the radar as well, who's a number 16 runner. I mean, again, if he lands 2 of those guys, like, who's going to be disappointed? Like, who's going to be mad about that class? I mean, he has just turned it on to a whole other level as well. The DeMarco has. It's been incredible to watch. And so
also shout out to Emmett Jones too.
Yes. I mean, the stars are not there as much, but if he lands Wesco, you get him and Kearney.
Here's what's
the dance.
Here's what's funny. Honestly, think about this. When Lincoln Riley left, everybody's like, "Oh, OU's recruiting is going to go into the tank." I would. There's no way OU's recruiting right now. Whether you want to take a look at the product on the field from last season or whatever, the recruiting right now is better than it ever was under Riley.
Yes,
ever.
Yes. It's just not as prolific because we didn't get all the 5 stars on the offensive side of things. That's where the glamour comes from.
Well, and you also had under Lincoln, like we talked about it. Lincoln had a lot of, we got the number 2 player in the nation or whatever committed, and then he would flip, 3 weeks later. Like, the commitments for Lincoln did not mean the same as they seemed to mean for Venables.
Right. He had a lot of flips. He also had a lot of projects. He brought in a ton of project kids. I would say the thing that you see with Venables is the 4 and 5 star range guys are very much guys that and feel much better that you can count on to be able to make it, if that makes sense. And so I think that that's a really, really big piece of it as well. The last thing I wanted to hit on the recruiting front, Michael Hawkins, who, by the way, everyone kind of poo-pooed a little bit that he was our quarterback of this class. He just won the Rivals MVP for his region, by the way. And Kevin Speary coming in for the underclassman side of it, who's the next class after him in 25, also looked absolutely legit at the camp. So quarterback recruiting is doing just fine as well. And if Michael Hawkins keeps doing this, I don't know that he's going to hit 5-star. I just don't believe that. I don't think he'll ever, but he will be one of the most athletic quarterbacks that OU's had in a long, long time. He will be very fun to watch. So let's close it out. I put out there for some questions. We only got a couple, but these 2 were good. So let me ask you 2 questions and we will close out today. Jared and Troy, I'm going to ask you this question because I'm curious your thoughts on it. Sunshine asked this in the Discord today. He wants to know what makes Daryl most dark these days. I'll let you guys answer that because I don't think I've actually been very dark here lately.
I can't. Can I reference something that wasn't on the pod?
Yes.
Bill Bedenbow. It's either Bill Bedenbow or Giddy. Those are the 2 that you just 100%.
That's what I was going to say.
On.
Okay.
Bedenbow or Giddy. Yeah, no question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Easy. No offense, Sunshine. That was an easy one.
Outside of sports, should we watch Daryl just turn as I say this? If we go outside of sports, Ryan Walters. if we want to see Daryl just lose his mind.
Oh my! We're not getting political on this podcast, Troy.
No,
we will not.
I'm just saying that's what puts you dark. Like anytime we have a launcher on the phone, and if our conversation steers that way, it's like, I know what my next 15 minutes are going to talk about.
Hey, big deal that we're going to go from $3 billion in grants.
No. Stop. We're done.
Hey, hang on. I just want to real quick. You know what makes me dark, J-Rod? Is the fact that my brother constantly complains about not having logins to things when I share pretty much every login with him, and then he doesn't use them.
That's true.
That's fair.
You know what makes me dark, Troy, is Embiid and stupid millionaires that don't understand what real life is. The other dude that I did not throw in there, John Morant. Freaking idiot.
Oh gosh. Man, come on,
Freaking
dude.
moron.
Got to do better, man. Although I will say this, we don't have time for it. And both of you are going to be shocked that I'm about to say this. I actually watched Colin Cowherd talk about this yesterday, and I 100% agree with him. I could not believe it. It was
good takes every once in a while.
his take on Ja Morant is excellent. It's basically that the NBA coddles and just hands guys money at 19 years old.
Yes.
And then they're shocked that these things happen. And I think he's right. All right. The last question comes off Twitter at Soonerborn_90. And this is a really good question that we could actually talk about, but we're going to go quick. In your opinion, Troy, starting with you, who was a starter last season that will not be a starter this season?
I saw this.
Michael Turk. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
That's still on the team. I'm sure he's
yes, yeah, I know.
Yes.
Right.
Go ahead, Jared. If you've got one, I'm thinking.
I'm gonna say Ethan Downs. I know like he wasn't like necessarily a full-on starter, but I just think he's gonna get buried in the depth chart this year. I don't know if you want to, like I said, I don't know if you want to consider him a starter. I just don't think he's gonna play nearly as much.
Yeah.
Daryl, you go. Daryl, you go.
I would say both ends are the biggest. I think Downs and Grimes will not start. And they both were starters for us last year. I think both of them will not this year. I would say the other guy on the offensive end that I would put out there as a potential would actually be Cade Matower. I think Matower could get replaced on the line if Savion Byrd can gain some weight back and get himself going again. And if the Schaefer kid that they've brought in can really take off and start going. A bubble guy, with them bringing in the Appalachian State kid, Rain better stay healthy.
Dang it, you took my thunder. I was going to say Andrew Raym. Because not just does he have to stay healthy, but he has to stay locked in mentally.
Yeah.
He's not staying locked in mentally.
Yeah.
The other dude that everybody wants one of us to say is, I'll go ahead and say it, is Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
I think there is a possibility, guys, y'all, if Dylan gets hurt for a game, he won't go back in.
I think it would have to be more than a game. I think it'd have to be, but even so, if he gets hurt for a game and Arnold is everything we've heard and what we saw at the spring game, if then the leash is even shorter when he comes back. But if it's 2 games, yeah, I mean, they may roll with the hot hand. We'll see.
Can I also, before I know we're about to wrap up, but I do one thing that we did miss. Speaking about Philly leadership, all that, Jalen Hurts got his master's degree from OU. And that was actually very well publicized, and he very well hyped it up, said he wouldn't be where he is without Oklahoma.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jalen Hurts.
That's
Embiid. Go drive across town or wherever.
I think that gives us a little bit of edge on the Bama versus OU thing with Jalen.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. I
think I'm okay sharing that with Bama, right? Like,
oh yeah, I think it needs to be half and half.
I thought it was pretty cool when they said Boomer Tide and we said Roll Sooner or something like that. Like the Twitter accounts for Oklahoma and Alabama kind of had a little fun with it. So
they did a great job with all that for sure. And by the way, friend of the pod, Corey Roberson, I know he's transferred out, but he did commit today to Arizona State and also graduated from Oklahoma. So he had a great week, and we still love Corey despite all the stuff and hope he does really well there. So, well, again, this is us, guys. We're done. We are not journalists. We're just dudes talking sports in Oklahoma. So we hope you've enjoyed it. Hope it's something that you like. If you did, please subscribe, leave reviews, all the different things to help us out. It's always a great thing. We're having a great time. We hope you are too. That's Jared. That's Troy. I'm Daryl. And we will talk to you guys later.
Bye, Baker.